As an introduction to scripting in Modo, I am going over the Modo command system. Anytime you interact with Modo, you are executing a command. So, for instance, when I go to my Basic tab in my model viewport and I select this icon, which is the icon for the cube primitive, and I left click on it to make it active, I actually have executed a command. When I press polygons instead of items to go to component mode polygons, I again have executed a command. Now in this video I will cover the basics of the Modo command system, and this is information that you can actually find in the wiki. So command system basics, over here you have the path to that wiki, and I will add that to the description of this YouTube video so that you can easily click on it to go to that page. I'm not going to read everything, it would be a bit stupid, but I will go over some important parts of it. So commands have a standard naming convention. An example of that is what you can see here. It's like item.name or script.run or tool.attr. And the first part of the command is the system or the type of selection the action can act on. So in this case it's item. And the second part is the action that will be performed. And there are four main classes of commands. I'm going to go to the wiki for that. You have UI, side effect, undoable, and model. Those are the four main ones. There are also two less used classes. I'm not going to go over that. But UI classes are classes that affect the user interface, but they do not affect or rely on any other state in the application, like viewport.turnTable. That's an example of a UI command class. And over here you have an image of the commands history tab, and UI command classes are presented in the command history with a yellow dash or yellow slash mark, like select viewport over here. A second class is side effect classes. I'm just going over this in the wiki. You can read it, of course, but later on I will come to a very important part. So the second part command class is the side effect. They do not change the model state, but they do rely on the model for their state, in contradiction to the UI. And macro.record is an example of such a side effect command class. And such commands have a blue dash mark in the command history, like you can see over here. And then you come to the most common command type in Modo, and they do affect the model state. So these are the commands that you are going to interact with most frequently, especially if you are going to do some scripting. An example of that is poly.subdivide, like it's being said here. The poly.subdivide is an example of an undoable command, sorry about that directly affects the model. And undoable commands can be undone and redone. And these commands have in the command history a green arrow in front of it that looks to the left. And if it has been undone, so if you drag the drag to undo redo above such a command, it becomes grayed out and it looks the other way around. And fourth class is the model class. Non-undoable commands that affect the model state are very rare. And then there's a part about subcommands and class inheritance. I suggest you read about it. The most important part in this introduction is command arguments. So I will go to modo, and for instance, when I do a search for tool.set, and I'm going to resize the windows a bit. So tool.set over here in the usage part, and I'm going to expand it. You see you have a whole long list of tool.presets, :string, mode, curly brackets with text value hints, and so on and so on. This part is something which is very important for you to learn how to read in order to do scripting later on. It can also help you in Modo in general if you don't do any scripting, but especially if you're going to do scripting, you will have to learn to read it. When going back to the wiki, there is an overview of all the possible markers, and this is something that you will know by heart after a while. So when there are angle brackets, then you have an optional argument, and when there are no angle brackets, then the argument is required. So going back to Modo, you see tool.set, that is the command, and the first argument is named preset, :string, and :string means that this argument named preset is of data type string. Then the next one is a question mark. This means that the argument is queryable. So question mark mode is an argument that you can query with the question mark syntax, like I will show you in a video about querying Modo commands. The next one is a hashtag, and that means that the argument is read-only. So when it's read-only, then you cannot change the value of that argument. You can only retrieve it. You can only read it. And I don't know if there's an example of that in this command. No, there isn't. I don't see any in the others. But anyway, if in front of the argument there is a hashtag, then it's read-only. When the argument is followed by an asterisk, then you have a variable data type. That means that the data type can change. So I don't have one here, but there is the data types read-only. Yeah. So over here, item.channel name string, and I was going over the variable data type. In this case, the argument value, :asterisk. This notation means that with the question mark, it can be queried, but with the asterisk, it also means that this data type can vary. So the name argument, sorry about that, the name argument is of data type string, but the value argument can be a string or an integer. It can have several data types depending on what Modo puts into it, or you through your script. Then you can have markers with curly brackets, and in that case you get choices, text value hints. So for instance, in the tool.set over here, you have a required argument named preset, which is of data type string, and the next one are text value hints, and those are toggle arguments. And in this case, it's also, because there is a question mark in front of it, queryable, so you can query the value of the mode argument of the tool.set. preset string. Then when there are curly brackets with ellipses, 3 dots, then you have dynamic choices. So just like a argument itself can be of a variable data type, the choices themselves can also become dynamic. And as a last one, you have toggle value arguments with a exclamation mark, curly braces, and off sets a toggle value state. So this is something that I wanted to show you about the basics of the wiki. This is especially about reading what is in here about the usage. You will need to learn those notations. It's actually not that difficult. And this actually concludes the basics of the command system in Modo. Hope you found it useful. Bye for now.